Greetings! In today's video, I have more Trailmakers creations to show you. So let's get started. The first one is an AH-1Z Viper. This is a pretty old shell of a build that I made when Airborne came out, probably around that time. I could never get it to work properly because I'm not skilled enough. And helicopters are really, really hard. I tried every trick I knew. I asked for help from a bunch of good people that know how to make helicopters fly, and I still could not. There was this half theory in my head that it was just like I got it flying theoretically how a helicopter should fly. It's just that I wasn't I'm not anywhere near skilled enough with a mouse and keyboard to actually pilot it properly. But again, I would not be able to tell the difference. So yeah. It is a helicopter. It has a bunch of weaponry. It has a giant minigun in the front, which can be turned by the co-pilot if needed to assist with targets that are on the side. It has these two blaster guns, and then it has rockets. And the blasters and the rockets are technically too far back on the body, so they do tend to, blow the nose off. But that's okay. It doesn't have to win any combat scenarios. It just has to look pretty. Yeah. It's just a helicopter, I guess. It has an interesting landing gear that folds up in the back like that. And I mean, other than that, it's just a bunch of very nice shapes that I ended up making. It's really heavy for the amount of up thrust that it has. As in, it has no assistance. It's just these heli blades spinning really fast, right? So it does tend to need a while before it can recover from any sort of sideways maneuver. However, it does have a decent stabilizing system. So if I take my hands completely off the keyboard, it'll just sit here for a while and slowly drift side to side. But other than that, it's just, it's well balanced. It does the thing, and the gyros help a lot, and so it works. And when descending, one must be very careful because it does indeed tend to want to smash itself against the ground like that, a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, not that much. All right. The second build for today, this is a car. I haven't named it yet. I will come up with a name for it at some later point. It's just silver, it's white chrome, which is basically silver, and then with orange accents, and that's the car. There's nothing special about it. It drives pretty okay, and then it flips over. And then you regret everything. Yes. I like it. There's some criticism to be had about the front bumper. I was experimenting with a different shape there, and the red lights at the back are too low, but I mean, it's okay. I'll just make a different car. I'll just keep making cars because it's good. It has a little bit of boost, which is the nice blue flames in the back. It goes relatively fast. It doesn't have that good steering, and I did experiment with just pushing the seated position all the way to the back, as far back as I possibly could. I don't know how I feel about that, ratio of hood to back of car. It's a bit much, huh? There's half of the car is hood, and then the rest is just squished. Yeah. Experiments. Weird experiments that I'm playing with. I do like the headlights though. It's just the double, very thin thing with the orange at the bottom, the white at the top. And then there's the little light in the bottom center, which is nice. There's not much special about it. It's just a car. It's just a car. So, we shall move to, if the transform slots will allow me, this is a gripen. It is a plane. It has a very strange paint job because one of the, it's a completely unrealistic paint job. That's what I'm meaning to say. One of the main goals with this paint job is for the opponent to not be able to tell which way is up on the plane, right? There's been several times in a dogfight where the opponent will literally tell me, I can't tell which way your plane is facing because it's all really dark and mysterious and it blends together. And that is exactly what you want to be going for, basically. Because that means the opponent has no clue whether you're getting your nose on them or not. If you look at the speedometer, it is blinding, the speed is, yes. Very, very aggressive speed. And then you look at the roll, it's relatively aggressive. It gets harder to roll accurately the higher the speed is, obviously. And the pitch is okay. I'm looking up to see if I have any other buttons. Yeah, I guess I have this button to just slow pitch for going around big circles, which is cool. The Q is it'll just keep a few of the thrusters on, but being almost completely drag glitched, the plane doesn't really slow down at all. It still goes at terrifying speed, even with half of its thrust off, or more than half actually. And then I have left control, which is bound to one of my mouse buttons. I think it's mouse button 5. And left control does this. It stops you midair. It makes the canards and the back ailerons angle really, really hard, which means that you basically become a helicopter and you're pretending to be a plane at this point. It's really effective in the dogfights because essentially sometimes you just need that extra tiny bit of pitch and you're going around this circle in relatively quick fashion and your enemy's just out of your reach, and so I can tap my mouse button 5 to just give me that extra little bit of terrifying nose movement that just puts me on target, and I can get my blasters on them and pew pew until they're dead. Obviously that's easier said than done. I do occasionally have large issues with controlling this thing because I'm not particularly good. Yeah, I have 4 blasters inside. They're in the front of the body, basically. I would have used more, but I was afraid that it would just start shooting my nose off and create problems with the piston glitching and the hinge glitching of everything. Yeah. I can't really add more pieces to it. That's the main point. It will begin to be really unhappy with its existence. The following creation is a typhoomerang. Russell, which is a friend of mine, decided he was gonna listen to How to Train Your Dragon music for a bunch of time in voice chat. And I was there, and I was infected with the How to Train Your Dragon virus. Probably, I don't know. It was something. I don't know if it was a bad thing either. Because look at this thing. I have 2 more dragons that I have to show you. Not today though, because this video is gonna go on long enough. Yeah. This is the typhoomerang. It is pretty simple as far as my controls go. The other 2 dragons have gotten more complicated. At this point, I'm basically just teasing the freaking, like... Anyway, very large wingspan, more of a slow, majestic flap, with, you know, taking advantage of its very big wings, more gliding than actually flying most of the time. And it came out pretty good. And then, you know, the painting. Unfortunately, I can't paint the underside of the wings, so those remain relatively plain. But the top side is pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. Yeah. I have the powered tail fins in the back of the wings to give it some stability. This is the head, which has a fair amount of hinges in it. Basically, it angles the eyes and it angles the horns. And then, you know, hinges for the movement of the neck, and so on and so forth. It uses gyros, it uses thrusters, because there was no way that I was making something this big be an ornithopter. I did try making the other 2 dragons ornithopters. It didn't work out that well, so I went different directions with both of them. But you will see that at some later point in the future. Yeah. Then I have my number 2 button, and I just glide. I have all my thrusters on, and I can just glide forward like this, which is pretty cool. The other issue is a lot of the stranger dragons in the series, well, not just in the movies or the series, just dragons in general from fantasy, they like to have longer wings. Right? Wings that might span like throughout the body. And that's an issue because then, as you can see, if I'm yawing, the wings will collide with the tail and do all sorts of weird stuff, which is part of not being able to make something organic and having to make it mechanical. It's just the tail and the wings are poking each other, and that's not really good. Last time, I showed you this car. This is the happy car. The Forel. I have another unnamed car, not named just yet. This is the counterpart to the happy car. I would call it the sad car. Well, I am going to call it the sad car. I will have to find an appropriate name for it, like proper name for it in the future. But for now, it's just the anti-happy car. Okay? This is the sad car. And it's sad because when it uses its pop-up headlights, it screams at you in agony. Yes. This is basically the point is I made a car that smiles at you, and then I had to go and do the opposite because of course I did, and so I made a very edgy, like if you look at the back headlights, that's a sentence I never thought I would say. If you look at the tail lights and you look at the little fins in the back, you look at the front and how it's basically crying. Its color is all dark and emo and stuff. And I still have the acceleration lights, which I know are not supposed to be like that, but I like them. So I'm keeping them. Yeah, this is the sad car. This is the I scream at you in agony car. And I really, really like it. I try to keep my base standardized and work on all of the aesthetic pieces. and the coloring and the way the headlights are decaled over and work, and the way the hood is shaped, or the way that the spoiler, if you want to call that a spoiler, is shaped, the way that the rear lights are decaled. Yeah, the functionality of the cars is generally very similar to one another. Yeah, this is the sad car. It screams at you. It's in pain. It's suffering. Look at it. And there you go. That's been a showcase of a couple Trailmakers creations I've made. More will be to come, as I've been talking about throughout the video. There has been dragons that I've been making. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you in the future.